Many parents are wondering what this outbreak means for their children. So far, it seems the virus poses a low risk for kids, but what do they need to know and how can parents protect them? Joining us now for more on this angle of the story, pediatrician Dr. Dina Kulik. Thank you so much for joining us on this today. Dr. Kulik, the founder and director of Kid Crew Clinic here in Toronto and also an emergency medicine physician. So, doctor, let's start with what we know about COVID-19 and the risk it poses to children.
So far, kids seem to be relatively unaffected by COVID. So we know so far that no children less than 10 years of age has died of the illness around the world, which is incredibly protective. We don't know of any virus that does this. So that's pretty amazing. Kids can get it, but they would typically get a less severe illness, like a cough and cold kind of symptom.
So what should parents do if their children do come down with those symptoms, which, let's face it, this time of year are very common? So now what do we do if our child comes down with a cough or a cold that we might be something worse?
I think like typical protection measures, right? So if they have a fever, you want to treat with acetaminophen, with ibuprofen, rest, fluids. So if they have less appetite, that's okay for me as long as they're drinking. Normal things that you would do for a virus, because that's likely what they're going to have in terms of symptoms.
I'm thinking of a couple of challenges when it comes to children. One is helping enforce the hand washing and sanitation measures that adults are supposed to do, but also, perhaps even more importantly, how to speak to children about it. Let's face it, children are hearing their parents talk about COVID-19. If they're hearing the news in their house, they might be panicking about it. So how much do they need to know? And what is your advice on how to speak to children about it?
Yes, I mean, it is a very good question and an important one. Not only may you be speaking in front of your children about it, but they often are coming home from school and asking questions as well. My own kids have been coming home and asking about it, even my 5-year-old in SK. So I think it has to be age appropriate. And you don't actually have to discuss it with them unless they have questions or concerns. We don't need to raise, fear levels for them. And I would caution you to be as calm as you can be in your own home in your discussions amongst yourselves or amongst your friends, etc. Because if you are panicked, if you are fearful, if you are stressed, and your kids see that, they will also in turn feel more anxious and stressed about it. So you want to be calm, even if you have to fake it till you make it, but you want to, be their calming kind of mechanism, as is our job as parents. But you do want to be age appropriate about it. You don't need to answer every question that you're thinking, but rather what are they asking? What do they want to know? What are their fears? What are they hearing from their friends that make them concerned? And then you can answer those questions in a calm and controlled way. We all and our children want to feel some element of control. So that's what I would suggest, to give them an element of what can you do to control this situation. You can wash your hands well. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like. Mommy's going to wash her hands. We're going to do it for 20 or 30 seconds with this much soap. I'm going to show you how to do it. Now you do it too. We're going to role model for our children. And, you want to stay away from sick people. And if you're sick or if mommy's sick or if your brother is sick, we should stay home as well. Really talking about what we do to prevent viruses, not just coronavirus, but influenza and other viruses. If you talk about how to prevent things, they will have some more measure of control over it and maybe be less fearful about it.
Some great advice there. I wonder, are you seeing an uptick in your clinic with parents bringing their children in with concerns about this virus?
It's been viral season for many months now. Influenza is still a big and prevalent illness in Toronto and Ontario. In Canada, is still much more prevalent than coronavirus. So we've seen viral illnesses for months now. And we're doing the same. We're, telling people that they can treat their fevers, they need fluids, get some rest, stay home, sneeze into your elbow, don't go to school if you're sick, all the normal things that we normally see this time of year.
I'm looking at what's happening in some places, for example, in the U.S., which has more cases, and there's a children's play place, and they're implementing new, quite strict regulations when it comes to sanitation. Of course, everyone's encouraging sick children to stay at home, but also they're having all of the employees wash their hands every hour, disinfect the equipment after every single class, and clean the entire facility every 2 hours. Is that the kind of thing you think is recommended in Canada for daycares, for schools?
I mean, look, if we all did that all year round, we would have less illnesses, flu included, and coronavirus, et cetera, which are spread by droplets. So, droplets when you're coughing and sneezing, landing on toys. That's difficult to do, right? I think hand washing is the best protection. Obviously, young children are putting their hands in their mouth and they're putting toys in their mouth. So you have to be cautious of that. We're all going to get, viruses from time to time. Every young child is getting viruses. Luckily, as we mentioned, they're relatively protected from coronavirus. But, we here are not cleaning our toys every hour, but we're washing our hands. We have hand sanitizer all over the place. We clean, the toys and the play structure with a lot of frequency, and we're using, proper sanitation measures every hour or two. That's a lot of work. But these are also businesses, and a lot of these businesses are seeing less traffic because of fears around the illness. So whatever they can do to, relay those fears is helpful for them too.
Final quick thought, can children be carriers? And even though their symptoms might be completely mild, should they avoid visiting an elderly grandparent, for example, if in fact they are ill?
That's an excellent question. I think we don't know that much yet. I mean, part of the concern here is that it's a novel coronavirus, so we don't know so many particulars yet. We do know that there's been some transmission between people who seemed healthy, even people that hadn't actually traveled and they got it some other way, some maybe at a grocery store, maybe walking down the street. We're not really sure. If your child has any sick symptoms, though, regardless of whether it's coronavirus or influenza, I would stay away from elderly people because, again, like coronavirus, influenza can make very young people and very old people quite sick. So this time of year, I think just stay away from other people if you're sick as much as you can. And a lot of hand hygiene, teaching your kids how to wash their hands, not sneezing into your hand, but into your elbow. Those kind of protective measures will go a long way all viral season, every single year.
It's great to get your expert advice on this. Thank you so much. Pediatrician Dr. Dina Kulik, founder and director of Kid Crew Clinic in Toronto.